You're listening to Amara After Dark. Hey, hi, hello, and welcome back to this episode of Amara After Dark. I'm your host, Amara Sumatra, and this week, we're going ghost. We'll be discussing the well-known social phenomenon that is ghosting. And it really is as scary as it sounds. Merriam-Webster Dictionary states that ghosting is the act or practice of abruptly cutting off all contact with someone, such as a former romantic partner, usually without explanation, by no longer accepting or responding to phone calls, instant messages, etc. Is that too complicated? Probably, which is why I asked you guys to explain it to me like I was a toddler, so that even the bowl-cut, floppy bunny-eared boys can understand. Let's get into it. We have a few submissions here. Let's start off with the simplest explanation. When I said explain it to me like a toddler, this person really took it to heart. And their explanation is ghosting is getting ignored. A little simple, but fair enough. Let's see. Ghosting means a relationship with another person, normal correspondence, suddenly stops without explanation. Where there is only silence, as if they have died. If that sounded like I was having a stroke, it's because I was trying to read that response. But I think what they mean is ghosting is a relationship where another person suddenly stops their normal correspondence without explanation, now that there's only silence, as if they have died. If that's not correct, I don't know. Fair enough. Let's see. Ghosting is like being left on red but turned to 11. Breaking or having all contact broken with no warning and just going dark, oftentimes leaving the other, or ghostee, clueless. Now, would ghostee be the correct term in this case, or do you think we should call them the haunted? I don't know. Sit on it for a minute. Let's see. Ghosting is when you suddenly cut off all communication with someone who you used to be friendly or romantic with, usually without explanation. This one's good. This one still has some big words in it. I don't know if a toddler would understand all of them, but I did, and that's what matters. Let's see. I keep saying let's see, and I know I do. Sorry. Ghosting refers to the act of suddenly ending all communication with someone without providing an explanation or any form of closure. It commonly occurs in dating or social relationships where one person abruptly stops responding to messages or calls, leaving the other person confused and uncertain about the status of the relationship. This one's good. This one seems like it almost builds off the last one. I'm still not sure if a toddler would understand it, but again, I do, and that's what matters. Now, this one I really enjoy, and I think you guys will really enjoy this one too. So, all right, little one. Ghosting is when someone you know, like a friend or maybe even a grown-up, suddenly stops talking to you or being with you. It's like they disappear, just like a ghost. They don't say why or where they're going, and it can make you feel sad or confused. But remember, it's not your fault, and there are always people who care about you and won't ghost you. So if it happens, you can talk to someone you trust about your feelings. So thank you, whoever submitted that last response. That was my favorite one. You really explained it to me like I was a toddler. Now, I don't have a toddler to test this out on to see if they would understand, but I believe that one probably works the best. So thank you. Thank you very much. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm usually really bad at math. So when I take the info for these surveys, I have a math guy who double checks all of my percentages just to make sure that I'm not wrong. That being said, we do have some numbers on how many people have been ghosted. And we're gonna Dora Explorer this bitch. How many people do you think have been ghosted? That's a great guess, but you're probably wrong. I don't think she says that, but I do. So we've got 80% of people in the state of San Andreas have been ghosted at some point, which is absolutely crazy because that's almost everybody. And I don't know if this thing existed in previous generations. I mean, I'm sure ghosting was probably a lot easier when we were older, back in the old days. But it blows my mind that many people have gone through it. So if the majority of people are going through it, does that mean it's an acceptable way to end a relationship, whether platonic or romantic? Well, this is where everybody was a little torn. So you see, we had over 50% of people who polled in this survey said, no, absolutely not. Ghosting's not an acceptable way. Why would you do it? 33% says it depends solely on the reason why they're ghosting. Let's see what those reasons are. So our first and shortest response as to why you would ghost somebody, they said, why not? That's fair. I'm sure there are plenty of reasons why not, but we'll save that for the end of this segment. Now, this person says, no, I hate being ghosted so much. However, there are times in toxic or abusive relationships that it's needed. However, another time, put your fucking pants on and talk to them like the adult you are. Fair. Now some of these answers are going to get a little lengthy, so bear with me here. Why ending a relationship by not talking? What's the point in that? I understand that people these days don't cope well with their feelings, but there's no reason to block and stop talking with that person. You had a relationship with them. That's also fair. Sometimes you just got to take the plunge and just talk, even if it hurts. Okay, next response. Short of learning something truly disturbing about your partner, like they were/are a convicted axe murderer or burned down orphanages in their spare time, I see little to no reason to ever ghost someone. At least have the balls or labia to talk through it like an adult, and not just ghost them because the one date you went on ended with you at pillbox or being taken hostage. That shit ain't their fault. This one feels a little loaded, and I kind of want to unpack it. So here's to hoping we get a little better explanation later on. And then our final response for this section. This is a quote unquote depends answer, because I've had it go both ways. The reason why it might be an acceptable way to end a relationship is to protect oneself from toxic behavior of the person you need to ghost. The reason why not is because it's often a cheap way out to avoid confrontation and dealing with the responsibilities of rejection. It's disrespectful to the person you're ghosting because it's worse than telling them no. It's telling them nothing and leaving them in an unresolved state. It's dehumanizing. Now, I appreciate that we get both sides of the reasoning for this. And honestly, I am a firm believer that there is a time and a place for ghosting. I don't think it should be just because you don't want to talk to a person. I do believe that if toxicity is a problem, if you feel unsafe, it's a dangerous world. If you do find out that they are an axe murderer or burning down orphanage in their spare time and you don't agree with that, that's okay. That's an acceptable reason to ghost. But just because you're tired of being with Sally and you want to go fuck Jennifer, that's not a good enough reason to ghost somebody. So let's get our shit together, maybe. So if so many people are against ghosting, who are the ones doing it? 80% of San Andreas is being ghosted. Surely it's not the same 3 people doing it over and over to everyone, right? And if it is, we need to call you out on your shit because that is ridiculous. What pushes someone to ghost another person? I've mentioned a few options here and there. Let's see what the others say. We have some submissions from a few little ghosts themselves who would like to explain. The first response that we got was because the person was a weirdo. Now, as much as I love a short and sweet answer, I love a short and sweet answer that is complete. And unfortunately, the person being a weirdo doesn't give me much. It leaves me with more questions than answers. And we all know how frustrating that is. What made them a weirdo? How were they a weirdo? What did they do? Were they still nice? Who knows? I guess we never will. The next one. I give them the reason I'm ending things and tell them I need space. Then I block/ghost, I guess, but I don't do it without reason. I see what you're saying. But in my eyes, if you're telling them that you're ending things, it's not really ghosting. If you've told them that you don't want to be with them anymore, you've essentially broken up with them, and that's all you need to do, right? Ghosting them, I think, is more so just dipping out and not saying anything. But I still appreciate your answer. The next one. They have ghosted. They said, I have had to do this to protect myself from a person who didn't listen to my needs or what I was telling them. They ignored my needs and mistreated me, so I left. I couldn't get them to see or listen. No one is entitled to my time or my life. I tried being nice, and it didn't work. I moved on, even though they weren't ready, and they chose to not listen to my limits when I said no. Now this, boys and girls, is exactly the kind of reason that you could ghost somebody. Would it still be better to tell them that you don't want to be with him anymore, list the reasons, and leave? Sure. But if you're already telling them and they're just not getting it, what else are you to do? All right. And then our last response. So I dated this guy for a year. He was really independent, and I'm more on the clingy side. We would go to events and social gatherings together, but he would get bored, and when we would just hang out one-on-one. He would get bored when we would just hang out one-on-one. I started putting distance to see if he would miss me if I wasn't around, which over time led to me just ghosting him when I started feeling as though I wasn't really important to him. I still liked this guy a lot, but I wanted to see if he would reach out to spend time with me instead of me always asking him to spend time with him. Eventually, we broke up, and one of the things he brought up was that he hated going to events alone and having people ask him where I was. I regret using ghosting as a test, but I really didn't know what else to do at the time because communicating wasn't really working. Now, this is something that I have seen a lot when it comes to ghosting. It usually starts out as an experiment. When you're feeling like your relationship is very one-sided, taking the ghosting as a next step does, at least in my mind, make sense. You want to see if they really miss you, if they really care about you, or if you just feel like a burden to them. Based on the way that you said this, I think that you went through it in a rather respectful manner. You did say you eventually broke up, so you didn't fully ghost him. It was just a small period of time. So I don't believe it's that bad. But you know, it's one of those constructs that just absolutely baffles me because people use it for all the wrong reasons. As I said, I do think ghosting can come in a more, I think ghosting can be a valuable tool if you are in a very uncomfortable or unsafe situation. And that's what I'm mostly seeing in these responses. So I do appreciate that. Not too many shallow responses, which is wonderful. Ghosting is complicated, just as I guess any relationship is. Well, since we're on the topic of ghosts, I decided to ask the audience if they believe in ghosts. Just as a little fun question. I know Halloween's over, but we love a little spooky in our lives. So, based on the poll, I have 80% of San Andreas agreeing that ghosts do indeed exist. The other 20% that I have says that they are undecided as to whether or not they believe in ghosts. So we have no outright non-believers, but we do have some undecided. Now, Amara, do you believe in ghosts? I'm sure that's exactly what you're thinking. And the answer is yes. Yes, I do. I've seen some myself, actually. And legend says there's one on Mount Gordo of a lady named Jolene. Now, I don't know if she's the one with flaming locks of auburn hair and eyes of emerald green. Mostly because she had white eyes, a gaping mouth, and her hair was very dark. But, you know, maybe at one time she was. If she is, Dolly Parton, we have some questions. You don't believe me? Go up on Mount Gordo and check yourself, because I promise you she's there. And if Jolene isn't your kind of ghosts, maybe these others are. I asked people to tell me who their favorite ghosts from pop culture are. And honestly, I wasn't expecting such interesting answers. I was expecting everyone to go, oh, you know, yeah, like Casper, because he's the friendly ghost. Or, I don't know, like, my answer would have been Danny Phantom. Any Danny Phantom fans out there? I hope so. That was one of my favorites. Give me a ghost that's not scary, because I'm a bitch. That being said, I have a couple of different answers here. So the first answer that I have is the Ghost of Christmas Past, specifically from the Muppet Christmas Carol. I can tell you honestly, I've never seen that movie, but I can tell you that I was hoping somebody was going to give me a Ghost of Christmas as one of their answers. So thank you for submitting that. The next one that I have is Slimer from the Ghostbusters. A little gross, a little old, a solid pick. I respect it. Now, these next two, I did have to Google, and you may have to Google as well if you want to, if you're a visual person like I am. The first one is the Hatbox Ghost. Now, the Hatbox Ghost, for those of you that don't know, is from Disney's The Haunted Mansion. I don't know much about the ghost. I can tell you I've seen The Haunted Mansion maybe 2 times in my life when I was very little. So I don't know much about them, but I know there's some hat boxes, there's some chopped off heads, and I think they're in the attic of the mansion. Spoiler. So, you want to know more? I'm sorry, you're going to have to Google that one yourself. My name's Amara, not Alexa. I can't give you those answers. The next ghost that we have, this one I know even less about, unfortunately. But their favorite ghost is Susie Q. Susie, and then the letter Q. Now, from what I've managed to dig up, this is an old Disney movie as well, a Disney Channel original, if I am correct on that. This movie is also named Susie Q, after the ghost. It's the ghost of a girl who died in 1955, who appears to a troubled teen living in her old house. And this movie came out in 1996. So I don't even know if you can still watch it. I've never heard of it. Sure as hell no, Disney ain't running it on their show. And then our final submission for favorite pop culture ghost is Ember from Danny Phantom. Appreciate the Danny Phantom shout out, even though Danny Phantom's not your favorite. Ember is a pop star, rock star ghost coming to steal the life from kids through her music. Beautiful, honestly. And I respect it. And I too very much loved her. We love a goth girly, ghost or not. Now, that's gonna just about wrap us up for this episode. We're gonna finish up here with my favorite segment, which is Ask Amara Anything. The segment where you guys ask anything on your mind and I am forced to answer. So, fingers crossed for no lawsuits, and let's go. First question that we have is, what is 2 plus 2? Now, I was hoping for more titillating questions here, you know, but, you know, I guess I can help you on your math. I do know that, you know, some people aren't that smart. So 2 plus 2, as I remember it, is fish. So I hope that helps. Let me know what grade you get on your kindergarten math test. Let's see. What do you think about people asking the age of women, even casually? So, I personally don't think it's that big of a deal. Now, will I joke about it and make a deal out of it? Depends on who you are. Do I take it seriously? No. If she gets butthurt about it, I only ever see old ladies get butthurt about it. So if she's getting butthurt about it, she's probably old. Sorry, Grandma. Okay, next question. Sticking with the ghost theme here. And I kind of like this. If you died, where would you end up haunting? This is a good question. These are the kinds of questions I like to ask when I'm hanging around and drinking with friends, right? Or when you're high and hanging out with people. Where would you end up haunting? As somebody who likes to stay home a lot, I feel like I would probably end up haunting wherever I'm living at the time. But that's boring, and we want a spicier answer. So I would say it's going to depend on how I died, where I died, and what I was wearing when I died. Because if I'm stuck in my nasty 3-day-old PJs because I didn't want to get changed or shower over the weekend, I don't want anybody to see me, ghost or not. I would probably pick Weasel at this point, just because I spend so much time there. Plus I think it would be fun as fuck to fuck with everybody. I would be that ghost that is writing on the mirrors in the bathroom. I'd do mostly harmless haunting, I think. I would like, I'm gonna be an ADHD person's worst nightmare. I'm gonna like move their phone when they set it down and look away. Or they're working on something, they get up to grab something and the paper is across the room. Or move the chair. You know, stuff that's little and annoying, but like makes you kind of question your sanity. That's the route I would go. And then our final question for time for AAA, Ask Amara Anything. If you could trade places with anyone for a week, who would it be and why? Now, this is a question that I have thought about for a hot minute. Because I wasn't sure if I actually had an answer. But after thinking about it for a while, I would have to say I would want to switch places with Sasha Rue. Truthfully, I believe she is absolutely fabulous. She always looks amazing. I feel like she just lives this beautifully luxurious life. And to be able to see through her eyes the way she sees the world, I think would not only help me grow as a person, but show me how I can be better. So I think that. Or I'd trade places with a cat. I do think it would be kind of cool to be a cat, you know? So yeah. That's gonna finish us off for the night. Thank you guys for writing in your responses and coming and hanging out, giving us a listen. I will have the information for the next episode as well as the submissions for that available after this episode. It'll be a fun one. We're gonna bring in some of our first guests for Amara After Dark. I think you guys will really enjoy them. So be sure to stick around and check in for the next episode. Also wanted to let everybody know that we are officially up on YouTube as well. So if you go on YouTube, search up Amara Somatra, that is AMARA SOMATRA. On YouTube, you will find all of the episodes for Amara After Dark, as well as previous episodes of Two Bitches, One Brain Cell for any of my bitches who missed those segments. Those are all there, so feel free to check those out at any time. If you would like to be a guest on the show, don't forget we do have guest forums that are now available on the Weasel app. Just go under podcasts, click on Amara After Dark, and the guest form will be right there. You can submit a guest form for yourself or for somebody else. Just put all that information in there and we will see what we can do. So thank you guys so much for sticking around. I appreciate you all very much, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Stay safe, guys.